Wah!
Is that it?
Wah!
Come on, do something cool.
Wah!
Whoa, that was awesome. Do it again.
I cannot.
Why not? Wait, did you just speak?
Ladies, gentlemen, and Monsties of all ages, welcome to a video about Rathalos.
That's my favorite!
Well, sort of, and sort of not, because it is actually about Razewing Ratha specifically, your personal best buddy through the entire story of Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. Except, well, by the time that the story is over, he's sort of just a regular Rathalos with a fancy wing pattern and a unique gene. Now, if this was the case through the entire time, I would be cool with that, but it sort of feels to me like there is a real big missed opportunity here. Recently, we talked about the final boss of this game and how I personally think it could have been used a bit better given all of what they showed us. I feel quite similarly here about Razewing Ratha. Why? Because we are shown things that are so much more interesting and unique throughout the game than what we get in the end. The majority of the story journey is about you and Razewing Ratha, your ability to bond with it as a rider like no other person can and fly it on the right path in life. Apparently, the right path, in this case, was basically just getting him to be almost a regular Rathalos, which is alright, and it fits the story beats the way that they were looking for and the way that they laid the story out to be for us. But my main question here is, why were they laid out like that? Not in a rude way, but genuinely curious, genuinely wondering, because at the start of the game we have this really cool, unique Rathalos friend with his wings just all tucked in, but as we progress and some shit goes down, we get to see an alternate version of Razewing Ratha, one that from this point forward will be referred to as Edgelord Ratha. After this transformation, your slightly less friendly friend flies into a feral rage, chasing after the Rage Raid Legiana, leading to a ridiculous looking explosion that totals the windmills that we just spent the entire quest chain of the area fixing. I'm still not over it, okay? Old Didi shows up and uses the power of friendship to turn him back to normal, and then, well, then we technically wind up with another unique version of Razewing Ratha. This one has a kinship skill that belongs to no other monster in the game, Ground Flare. This thing is absolutely magnificent and has one of the coolest energy ball animations in the game, easily, resulting in a ridiculous explosion. I adore it, and it, well, once your Rathalos unlocks flying, this kinship skill is just gone completely, replaced instead with a slight variation of Sky High Dive, which is the same kinship attack as a base Rathalos and also Azure Rathalos. The only unique part being that the eye flash color changes from blue to red, and that the part where he goes sick as hell fire mode on the way up. Don't get me wrong, it's really, really cool looking, but we went from a unique kinship skill that matches nothing else in the game to a reskin of a relatively common kinship skill. I don't know about you, but that sort of does disappoint me. I still think it's great, but considering what Ground Flare looks like, I was definitely hoping for something more than Sky High Dive for 95% of my Monster Hunter Stories 2 game time that doesn't include the Ground Flare move. Skip to the end of the game, literally the end of the game, the final boss fight, the end of the final boss fight, even the final cutscene, some fun stuff really happens. Kyle has no idea how to use a bow correctly, but he gets lucky, and then for the finishing move, we unleash the true power of kinship and get this very, very, very momentary, unique version of Razewing Ratha, henceforth referred to as Friendalos. His wings light up this blindingly bright blue that is just gorgeous, the exact color that the kinship gauge is represented by in the game. This looks a lot like his form in his personal variation of the Sky High Dive kinship, but blue instead of the fiery orange. The biggest stretch that I'm going to make for the entire video though is right here, because imagine a world where this transformation affected Friendalos just a little bit more, and if this was the look that Razewing Ratha took on for the post-story part of the game. Like, what if its scales went white, glowing blue on the energy wings the way that it does in this cutscene, and that was just what Razewing's final form is. It's what it is for the entire rest of your journey, unlocked through the sheer power of kinship in this moment of extreme need. That would be pretty cool too, right? Well, there are a lot of ways that you could argue that Friendalos is essentially the polar opposite of Edgelord Ratha. One of them dark, brooding, purple energy, giving into its primal instincts to just destroy things. The other, a bright paragon of what it means means to bond with your Monstie? What if there was a way to choose between them? I mean, the majority of the story is actually about your journey with Razewing, your bond with Razewing, and how you as a rider are essentially extremely responsible for whether this creature will end the world or save the world. Obviously, it wouldn't fit the story that we have in the game as it is currently, but imagine a world in which part of the story involved decisions, choices that you make along the way, little things like how you deal with Kyle's betrayal and then returning to you as a friend, or how you treat the scribes and Lulucion separating you from Ratha for a while. Do you take the situation calmly, or do you rush in, weapons drawn, trying to rescue your Razewing? Then, by the end of the game, your choices add up and weigh in, and wind up with a permanent change. You either are permanently in possession of Edgelord Ratha, the sort of bad ending or evil ending if you will, from making rash, violent, or otherwise impulsive decisions that could teach Razewing these values, or you instill the ability to calmly work through a situation, to work together for the most pleasant outcome, imparting all of these lovely values needed to create Friendalos, paragon of kinship. Of course, this could be purely visual. It'd be super cool if just half the player base had Edgelord and the other half had Friendalos, at least in my opinion. Fun fact, opinion is only 2 letters away from onion, which is great because everyone has an opinion and everyone has layers like an onion. And both opinions and onions tend to make me cry. Right, Rathalos. You could even take it further, give them another unique gene, and I mean, whether it had this or was just purely visual, the ability to have the story have this kind of an impact on your experience in the endgame would be really, really cool to me. Past this, there is always my favorite conversation to have about a monster in a non-main series game, porting it into the action combat games, and well, this is one I could definitely see happening. Why? You can make it really easy story-wise. Obviously, it would still be a collaboration event which removes some of the need to explain it, but you could say that Razewing was unable to be controlled by the writer in stories, and thus turned into Edgelord Rathalos more permanently, like an alternate reality version of what would have happened. And thus, lo and behold, who shows up in our action games but the evil-looking giant fireball Rathalos, the Edgelord himself. Of course, the developers would have to come up with a relatively unique way to realize his moveset, given there are a few other Rathaloses already in the series, and all of them are all based around fire as well. His armor would be sick though, just saying. The thing that gets me the most though is that this Rathalos never really actually needed to fly.
Excuse me?
Well, you know that short-term kinship that I talked about earlier, ground flare, was so cool. Still, it got me thinking, what if this was just the ground-based Rathalos as a whole, like an artillery cannon firing these ridiculously powerful fireballs but unable to take off of the ground? No mobility, massive damage potential, and it would make a terrifying Rathalos that is genuinely unique from all others that exist. I don't know, none of this is anything that needed to be in Stories 2 by any means. It was a fantastic game, but Razewing Rathalos feels like wasted potential to me compared to what it could have been. At the end of the game, at the end of the day, it's just a 5% fancier regular Rathalos, which is especially strange to me when you consider that in Stories 1, our main story companion was also a Rathalos, a regular Rathalos. It's the fact that we saw these flashes of so much bigger and greater versions of Razewing throughout the story of this game that really makes me wonder what could have been. Alright everyone, I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and this has been a discussion about some of the missed opportunities with Razewing Ratha in Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. Do you agree with any of the ideas that I've talked about today, or do you think that Razewing is perfect as he is? Why do you think that we even got a Rathalos as the main story companion after having it also be that in the first game? Because that is also quite interesting to me. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.